I just come back from a party event. I'm overtired. It's very, very late in the day. It's way past my bedtime, and I've made a big mistake. Okay, I've turned on my computer and I've gone onto YouTube. Now, YouTube is like a vacuum pump. You know, it just sucks you right in. You know what I mean? And that's basically what I'm suffering from right now. I've answered a few private messages. I got one back, and I got this message on my channel page, and I'm just going to answer it because I feel like it. And I've drunk too much tea today, and I'm buzzing, and I can't relax. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to answer a few messages. The first one, this one was on my channel page. It says, Nick, why do people keep telling me you do work for the New World Order? And what is the New World Order? Right. Well, firstly, if you're on YouTube and you don't know what the New World Order is, that's probably a good thing. Alright, because essentially this is, if you go onto YouTube and you start searching for information about the New World Order, you will get a load of very passionately and very aggressively expressed rubbish by people who are essentially trying to control you and basically, you know, trying to drive you mad, basically. The New World Order is something which does not exist, which people of a certain type and of a certain caliber believe exists. It's supposed to be a conspiracy to try and dominate the whole world and to kill large quantities of the human population. The fact of the matter is, in practice and in reality, the population of the world is actually growing, not shrinking, and there isn't one singular group of people who are trying to rise to power to try and control the whole wide world. Now, there is a reason why people would say that Nick Dutch is in fact a member of the Illuminati, who is supposed to be like this group that's taking over the world, and works for the New World Order. And that is because if there is anyone who is vaguely different to like the mainstream individuals, they're going to get some kind of stigmatization against them, some kind of like negativity. You know, they're going to be dissed big time, to put it into colloquialism. Okay. Why is that? Because it's the way that people work. You know, they take something and make it look negative. There's often people who draw some kind of either racial or cultural parallels and say that, you know, a person is obviously an Illuminati if they are not of this race or this nationality or this interpretation of religion. The Illuminati conspiracy theory is almost like a carbon copy of something called the stab in the back political legend, which is very popular in early 20th century Germany and assisted in allowing Adolf Hitler to rise to power, because the idea was there was conspiracy against by the Jews against like the people and all the rest of that, when essentially it was the people who put the Jews in a position of running the banks, because the Jews weren't allowed to do any other job. And so therefore the Jews managed to get wealthy in the banking industry, and therefore there was some kind of prejudice against them, and the whole idea of the Jewish conspiracy was essentially born. Also, the Germans obviously lost the First World War, and there was this feeling that they'd been given a stab in the back and they should have won, hence the idea of the stab in the back political legend. And so it all got a bit complex and convoluted, and then people said, oh, you know, it's obviously the Jewish people and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's one of the many reasons for anti-Semitism. That was only a brief paraphrase. It's much more complex than that, because we're talking about a social and political force, okay? The same myth is also in America, which is very predominant in the South, or in the deep South of the United States of America, because the people in the South feel that the South should have won in the Civil War. And so they'll latch onto anything to have the same variety of myth, as if they say, we are the South, we're going to get great all over again. And so they're using the same myth, but they don't use the word Jewish, they use the word Zionist. Okay, if you get the drift there. They're trying to soften it, but basically the meaning is still basically the same. So what these people are doing is they're using a myth to say that anyone who's culturally different, anyone who has some form of secrecy about them, any group that has some form of secrecy about them, is obviously somehow evil. Alright? And so they use Freemasonry as one of their target scapegoats. You know what a scapegoat is? If you don't know what a scapegoat is, you know, look it up. Okay, I'll describe it for you briefly. In ancient times, what people would do is let them get let off whatever nastiness they'd done. They'd blame a goat for it, then they'd kill the goat, and then that would say that, you know, the individual had been absolved of whatever sins they'd done. Hence the idea of a scapegoat, or, you know, blaming the goat instead of the person. So, what these people do is they scapegoat another group. And anything that looks suspicious, such as the Freemasons, because the Freemasons have alleged secrets. These days there aren't any secrets of Freemasonry. You can go to a library and you can look up all the symbols and all the, you know, everything apart from the signs that they use, the hand signs that they use to get into the lodge, because that's like having a number pad code when you're going into, you know, a special building. Okay, so it only allows people who are members in. That's the only thing they don't tell you, and that changes from time to time. And of course, the traditions associated with that go back into basically the antiquity of the Freemasonry. And so the Freemasons are blamed for every nastiness in the world. The Jews, or in this particular case, they call it the Zionists. Of course, they mean the Jewish people, because that's, you know, they're using coded language. Okay, are also blamed for all the nastiness of the world. They blame people like Rockefeller. They blame people, you know, and so on and so forth. And the idea is that it's like evil people who've got the desire to destroy society, to depopulate the planet, and everything in the world, everything even remotely negative, it's just like an accident, is blamed on the Illuminati, who's supposed to be this like mythical group of people. The actual original Illuminati was a group of free-thinking atheist people who had some kind of mystery religion type cult, although it wasn't an actual religion. It was more like a group of free thinkers who attacked the established order, which was the way I understand it, predominantly theologically based. So the people who believe in the New World Order conspiracy say that everything that's nasty in the whole wide world is the product of the Illuminati, product of the Jews or the Zionists, depending upon what language or how honest they're actually trying to be. And it's also very heavily connected with a lot of far right-wing ideas. So you've got to be careful of people who are talking about the New World Order, because there's something deeply disturbing about them, and they tend to twist messages and misrepresent arguments purely for the purposes of terrifying you into becoming someone who believes what they do. And there's lots of people out there who believe in this New World Order conspiracy theory, which is, of course, rather disturbing. I mean, I've mentioned this before. There was a time, you know, when I first came onto YouTube, just for a laugh, I started looking out for conspiracy theory stuff. But at that time, I hadn't been doing any sleeping because I was just doing all this work and all that kind of stuff. I was very physically ill, I was malnourished and the rest of that, and I started getting terrified by it. And what I've learned from that experience is that these pundits, these people whose job it is to promote this message about the New World Order, which is based upon a lie, okay, it's all lies, are actually very good at terrifying people and controlling people and demonstrating that things which are true are false. That's what they do. They try and convince you that things which are true are actually false. Okay? And so as to promote their agenda and to turn you into one of these hard Republicans or hard conservative individuals. Okay? Also, the same stab in the back political legend is also being used by the Islamic extremists in order to radicalize people into radical Islam, so they can go and strap bombs to themselves and go and blow things up. Okay, it's a very evil myth in every possible way, and it is very insidious, and it is very dangerous. And as a result of that, you know, it's well worthwhile being very critical and fearful of people who are talking about the Illuminati conspiracy, the reptilian conspiracy, because of course thanks to David Icke, it's not just the Jews, it's not just the Illuminati, it's also reptiles from another universal dimension or something stupid like that, who are actually trying to control the whole wide world and turn humans into a slave race or something equally mental. And also, according to him, the moon is not a moon, it's actually a planetoid, and it's got people living inside it and all kinds of other weird shit. You know, it's disgusting. Hate. Okay, so as I'm rather different, because I am a form of experimental occultist, I call myself a transdeist, okay, because essentially I believe in reason, and I try and do as much reasoning as I can. therefore I will be considered to be negative because I'm not a true, as it were, blue fundamentalist, conservative, literalist Christian. Okay, that's why it's what it's all about. I am slightly different, and therefore I am going to be scapegoated for a lot of the evils in the world. There we go. Okay, I hope I've explained myself quite well there. Now let's get on to the private message I was sent. Okay, go to inbox. Give it a second, my computer's a bit slow. Okay, and it says, okay, thanks. But I want your opinion on the Illuminati. That's why I'm putting these two together, because it's all in the same subject, okay. And the FreeMasons. I like it's number 3, Masons. Okay, well, firstly, the word is Freemasons, not number 3 followed by the word Masons. And the reason that they're called the Freemasons is because there was a time when they became open to people of other denominations and religions, okay. These days, Freemasonry is a secular group of people who happen to be, and by their nature believe in either a supreme being or a higher power concept, or have some form of spirituality. Okay, but in the old days, before they became Freemasons, they were just known as the Masons, and they were only open to people of a Christian background because it was a Christian fraternity or a brotherhood, a male-only sort of like social club, basically. And yes, they did have sort of like mysteries, celebrations, and there was all kinds of different denominations or types or different forms of Freemasonry groups that were all associated with different trades, because the Masons, the original Masons, were essentially a trade guild for people who crafted stone for the making of cathedrals, and they guarded their trade secrets very closely. And the reason they meet in lodges is because the lodge was a place where people went to stay overnight, so they could then sleep there, then they can go and work on the cathedral the next day. Okay, so that's why it's called a lodge. But now the word has been changed into something of a more ceremonial or spiritual nature, because it's a way of like bringing people together. So it's not 3 Masons, it's Freemasons, because it's now free to people of all religions and denominations, including Islamic people, Jewish people, Christian people, pagan people, Hindu people, people of all walks of life, hues, and all the rest of it. Okay, now as far as the Illuminati is concerned, I think I've mentioned that it was originally the sort of like atheist, free-thinking type people who had some form of ceremonial associated with what they were about and what they were doing. And there's there are people who have tried to revive the Illuminati these days, so I understand. I want to look into that in greater detail, because I can't really give you enough information straight off pat about what the Illuminati practices are in the here and now. No, they're not trying to take over the world. They're essentially a group of free thinkers, and essentially a lot of the views which are associated with Illuminist thinking are forms of free market conservatism, associated with ideas of liberty and fraternity. Basically, a lot of the ideas went into the foundation of the United States of America. Basically, your Constitution, if you are an American, is possibly influenced strongly by Illuminist thinking from previous centuries. So as far as the Illuminati rising to power, well, the original Bavarian Illuminati actually got closed down. So, it stopped existing. But I think people are sort of like harkening back to that, and they're carrying on with ideas relating to liberty, about property ownership, and there's like a form of it's free market freedom, and explaining why these ideas of freedom are quite so important. And the people who are involved in modern day versions of Illuminist thinking would do something like act against tyranny, would probably be in favor of small government, and so on and so forth. So, as far as are the Illuminati going to rise to power, basically no. The only people who rise to power are rich, powerful people, and that's basically all that we can really say about that. There are a lot of people who get paranoid when they think that, oh my god, there's lots of decisions which are being made out of my hands, but on the other hand, there are always going to be decisions made out of your hands and in the hands of other people. And the best thing that we can do is to encourage democracy as best we can, as well as, just like you have in America, you've got a constitution to guide the democracy, and essentially that's something which I think is quite a good idea. And these are the things that we can act sort of politically to be able to encourage. Alright, so what I hope I've done is I've given you a bit of background about what the Illuminati really was, and what, you know, I mean, the conspiracy theorists take the idea of the Illuminati, blow it up out of all proportions, and blow up the idea of the Freemasons out of all proportions. As I say, that there are no secrets in Freemasonry. It's not a secret society. Go to a few libraries, okay? Go to a few bookshops and look up the ceremonies of Freemasonry and different forms of Freemasonry that there are in your country, as well as in my country, as well as all over the place, okay? They've got a very interesting system. You know, you go through the three, you know, there's 3 grades, you know, there's, I can't remember what there is. There's Entered Apprentice, something else, and then Master Mason, okay? And then once you've done those 3, then you can move into a separate lodge which will do separate things. And there are some which are more religious, and there are some which are more secular. Like there's even one associated with a rowing club. So you've got these middle-aged men who use things from a rowing club as being part of their moral instruction. So, you know, carrying paddles and stuff, which would have some kind of meaning, you know. They got some ideas relating to like the symbols or the tools of the Mason are used to represent moral things such as straight dealing. The plumb line represents straight dealing with people, and in terms of business. So being honest, being truthful, not selling something which is beneath par, and also square dealing, which is another business-like attitude. So you deal with people honestly, you deal in business honestly, with the help of the symbolism of the Mason's tools. And also there's another message that there's like a block of stone which is roughly hewn, and that's supposed to be what you're like when you enter into Freemasonry, and you go through the process of all the various different ceremonies, and you learn about Freemasonry, and you become more purified and refined as time goes by. And then there's a symbol of a much more pure and well crafted stone, and then that's what you become at the end when you become a Master Mason. Okay, that's what it's supposed to be all talking about. The improvement of the character in a very moralistic way. To do with mankind's dealing with mankind, not mankind's dealing with God, as in the case of religion. So that should have cleared your mind and helped you just to be able to think quite clearly as to what all of this stuff really is about. Okay? Nick Dutch, signing out for now. Good fortune, God bless.